everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ashley and today I'm going to be doing the January book tag. This is a new book tag that was created by Jan at the channel JAN-uary, and it is the January book tag named after her. I was tagged to do this video by two of my friends, Gwen and Hannah, so I will link all of these people's channels down below in the description so you can check them all out. They're all great and you should definitely be subscribed to all of them if you are not already. But the idea of this tag is it's a little bit of a transitional tag of wrapping up the end of the year into the new year. I know it's like pretty much the end of January by the time I'm finally getting around to doing this, but the questions are all still relevant, so I wanted to squeeze it in while there are a few days left in the month. So with that being said, let's hop on into the questions. The first question is, what is the last and the first book that you read last year? So the last book that I read in 2021 was not good, and that was His and Hers by Alice Feeney. I wanted to pick this one up because I had previously really enjoyed the first book that I had ever read from Alice Feeney last year, which was Rock, Paper, Scissors, and that was a 5-star for me. I absolutely love that thriller, and so I wanted to check out more of her backlist, and I just happened to own His and Hers, so I decided to do that one first, and I did not have a good time with it. I think I ended up giving it a 2-star, which really surprised me because I've heard more positive reviews probably for His and Hers than I did for Rock, Paper, Scissors. But yeah, it just didn't really work for me. And then the first book that I read in 2021 was a graphic novel called Wires and Nerve by Marissa Meyer, and these are a spin-off graphic novel duology thing that is based off of the Lunar Chronicles series from Marissa Meyer. The Lunar Chronicles series was my favorite series back when I was in high school. I absolutely love those books, and I had owned the graphic novels, at least I owned the first one, for a long time, but I didn't remember I did. And when I was visiting home for Christmas at the end of 2020, I found it and I was like, oh my gosh, how have I never read this? And so that was the first thing I read in 2021, and that was a 5-star. So I started the year off very strong, but I ended the year not in a great place. The next question is, what is your first read of this year? And the first book that I read this year was The Burning Girls by CJ Tudor, and this one ended up being a 5-star for me as well. So I have a pretty good record of starting the year off with a really good book. This is a thriller book that has some horror elements and vibes to it as well, that follows this female vicar who is moving to work at this new parish with her teenage daughter, and there's a lot of dark spooky history in the town with women being burned at the stake and girls going missing and the last vicar hanging himself in the parish. And the main character you're following also has a dark mysterious past of her own, and it was excellent. I really enjoyed this. It was a super solid thriller book, and I'm really glad I was able to start the year with a 5-star read because we haven't had many of those again since that has happened. Question number 3 is, what are 3 reading goals that you have for this year? And I do have a couple reading goals. I didn't want to be too overly strict with myself, but there are some things that I want to get done this year. The first one is that I want to read more nonfiction this year, and so I set the goal for myself to read 1 nonfiction book a month. So I should end up reading 12 nonfiction books over the year. I'm not going to be too strict with myself. If I skip 2 months or just have like 2 months where I'm really not feeling it, I think that'll be okay. So as long as I end the year at least reading 10 nonfiction books, I will be happy with myself and achieving that goal. But I used to read a lot more nonfiction before BookTube and like the last 2 years of my reading, and I've really gotten away from that. But I have really loved some nonfiction that I read in the past, and there's some of my favorite books that have stuck with me for a really long time. So I really want to make an effort to be incorporating those more into my reading this year. I've already gotten a kickstart on that in January. I am reading Cultish, which is a nonfiction book that examines the language that is used in cult-like groups. And yeah, I'm hoping to continue that throughout the year and keep reading at least 1 nonfiction book a month. My second reading goal is I want to participate in the Buzzwordathon challenge over the year, but I want to have a little extra challenge on it myself. If you don't know what the Buzzwordathon challenge is, it is a challenge that is hosted by Kayla from Books and Lala. She used to do these Buzzwordathon readathons where you would take like a week and there would be a buzzword like girl or woods or something, and you would read a bunch of books with that word in the title of the books. So she used to do it that way, but now it's more of an annual challenge where she picks a word or a category or group of types of words for each month, and then you can just kind of do it yourself throughout the year. I wanted to do it last year, but I didn't end up doing it, and so this year I want to do it, but I want all of the books that I use for the Buzzwordathon challenge to be backlist books. So this just means I don't want to use new releases and things that are published in 2022. I want to read things that were published in 2021 and before. And the reason I want to do that is because I have so many backlist books on my physical TBR that I just need to get through. And it's really easy for me to get distracted by the new releases that are coming out. So I want to have this be a concerted effort to continue to make my way through my backlist books. And I'm going to use it by doing the Buzzwordathon. So in January, the book that I'm going to be reading is Where the Forest Meets the Stars, because the challenge for January is W words, which is like who, what, when, where, why. And so I'm using where for Where the Forest Meets the Stars, which I have not started yet as of filming this video, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to get that book in this month. And then my third reading goal is a little bit more abstract, and that is to just read more of what I want. It has been so easy in the past 2 years to read things for BookTube or because of the hype, or I don't know, I just get caught up in a lot of what's going on and not reading just what I want to read. And if I think back to how I used to read before I had a BookTube channel, it was very different, which in part makes sense because my reading taste is going to change no matter what. But there are like some thrillers sitting on my shelves that I've had sitting on my shelves for 2 years that I don't know why I haven't read them yet. And it's because I just keep getting distracted by like new things that are coming out, or like trying to read fantasy books and see if I like those. And I just don't want all the distractions. I just want to stick to reading what I want more this year so that I can have more fun with my reading. Question number 4 is, what are 3 of your most anticipated book releases of the year? And I have a whole video where I talk about over 80 book releases that are coming out in 2022 that I'm excited about. So I will link that video in the description box down below. You can check that out if you want a huge list of all the books I'm excited for. But I thought for this, I would pick 3 from the top 3 genres that I read the most. So horror, thriller, and romance. So for thrillers, I am most excited for The Woman in the Library. This is set in the Boston Public Library, and there's all these strangers that end up sitting at this table together, and then this woman screams and it breaks the silence, and then this investigation goes on, and so all these strangers get talking, and you start to learn about why they're all there and what their situations are, and I'm pretty sure one of them's a murderer, so I think that sounds really interesting. And then for horror, my most anticipated horror release is Hide by Kirsten White. I read from this author last year, and it was one of my favorite books of the year, so I'm excited to check out something else from her. I'm pretty sure this is going to be her adult debut or adult horror debut, but this one is set at an amusement park, and there is a hide and go seek challenge basically to win money, and I guess it gets gruesome. So that also sounds really exciting. And then for romance books, my most anticipated romance book is Book Lovers by Emily Henry. After adoring People We Meet on Vacation last year, I can't wait to read her next romance book. I will say I'm a little hesitant because I have had a love-hate relationship with her stuff in the past, but I'm hoping this is going to be another one that I love. I think this one is going to be an enemies to lovers situation between 2 book lovers, so it sounds like a good time. Question number 5 is, what goals did you reach and not reach for your reading goals last year? I didn't set a ton of specific goals last year. I knew I wanted to read 100 books, and I did that. I read 106 books last year. I knew I wanted to get better about DNFing books when I wasn't enjoying them, and I ended up DNFing 17 books last year, which is definitely more than I've DNF'd in the past, so I'm also proud of doing that. But I don't think there's any goals that I didn't reach because I didn't have a lot of tangible goals set out. I think generally I would have liked to have less unread books on my physical TBR at this point, but based off of how many I have, I knew that was going to be difficult to get down to my ideal anyways, but that is something that I am very confident I will be able to do a better job at this year. Question number 6 is, are there any new releases that you've heard of that you're not interested in reading? And the only one that comes to mind is Emily St. John Mandel's new book, the Sea of Tranquility one. I have read, I don't know if Emily St. John Mandel only has 2 other books, but I've read her 2 books that I know of, which is Station 11 and The Glass Hotel. I remember enjoying Station 11, but I don't remember a lot of the contents of the book, but I am watching the show right now. Even watching the show, I'm proving that I don't remember much of the contents of the book. I remember the basic idea of the book. I remember how it starts and the general like characters, but I don't remember it being a very straightforward plot. It was kind of a weird wandering type novel. And then The Glass Hotel was very very similar in that way, where I really can't remember much about it because it is just a very strange book. And that one I did not enjoy as much when I read that one. And it sounds like this new book, Sea of Tranquility, is probably going to have that same signature style, and I'm just not sure that's for me. So I'm not really interested in that, and I will probably not be picking this one up unless it gets like rave reviews for some reason, or it's personally recommended to me for some reason. I'm probably just going to skip this one. Question 7 is, are there any reading habits that you want to change this year? And again, I want to read more nonfiction this year, so that would be one of the reading habits that I want to change. Is I want to actually pick up the nonfiction that I find interesting, because there's always nonfiction that I find interesting, but I just haven't been picking it up as much in the past 2 years, so I definitely want to do more of that this year. And then I also really want to get my unread TBR down to like 20 books by the end of the year. I feel like I can do that. Maybe I can get it down to like 30, but 20 would be nice. I would really like to get to a point where I never have more than 20 books on my physical TBR that are unread. The last time I counted was for this video I did a long time ago, and it was absolutely insane, like over 120. And I know I've read a lot since then and unhauled a lot since then, but I've also added a lot since then, so I don't really even know where I'm at right now. It's for sure at least 50, like at least 50 books and probably much more than that. Like I would probably guess around 70, which sounds absolutely insane to a normal human. I know there are people who have way more and way less, but like to me, it's stressing me out. So it's got to change this year. Really what happened is the pandemic hit, and in 2020, I just was like buying books for retail therapy, and I'm still working on getting through them at this point. But yeah, those are the reading habits that I would like to change. Question number 8 is, are there any adaptations that you're excited for? And there are 2 that come to my mind, and they both come out, I believe, in February. The first one is the No Exit movie that's coming out on Hulu. I am so excited for this because this is a thriller that I've loved for so long, and I'm very excited to see it come to screen because it already reads like a movie. So I feel like it's going to be a pretty successful movie, although you can't always count on Hulu. So the acting may not be to par, but we're gonna hope, fingers crossed. And then the other one that I'm really excited about is Death on the Nile, which is another Hercule Poirot book that is being adapted into a movie. And I really liked Murder on the Orient Express, so I'm hoping this one will be just as good. Question number 9 is, what is your favorite bookish memory of last year? And I would just have to say, overall, my favorite thing about 2021 was just getting to connect with more people in the bookish community. That has always been what I enjoy the most about being on Bookstagram or BookTube or whatever book platform you're on, is just getting to meet people and make friends and chat with people and really get connected with people. When I first started my BookTube channel, it was in 2020, like right after the pandemic started, so it was in like March or April, and I had no idea if I was going to stick to it, how long I would stick to it, how real it would become, and what it would even look like for me in the next couple of years on BookTube. So I'm getting ready to come up on 2 years on BookTube, and it has just been so great. 2021 was the year I feel like my channel really started to take hold, and that I really started to figure out my comfort in front of the camera and the types of videos I want to make, and just getting more confident connecting in the community with other people. I think in 2020, I was like, oh, nobody's gonna care about you. Nobody's gonna notice you. It's not going to really matter that you're here. You're going to be just talking to a void. But through the end of that year and then through all of 2021, I just realized that's so not true. Like, your subscriber count does not matter for being a part of the book community. You don't even have to have a bookish platform to really be immersed in the community. Everyone's just really receptive for the most part and welcoming, and it's just been really great to get more immersed in the community. And so my biggest highlight would probably be being asked to co-host the Thrill to the Weekend readathon with Jacqueline and Jordan from Sorry Books Solid last year. We did that in September, and it was the first time Jacqueline was kicking off the readathon. It was just so cool to see that she trusted me to be able to do that. That was the first readathon that I have ever co-hosted in any way, and it was just so much fun. Especially the nature of that readathon is so focused on the community and like chatting in the Discord and doing a live movie night, and we did a live show where we told scary stories in the dark, and it was just so much fun to do that together. So that was definitely my bookish highlight of last year. And finally, question number 10 is, are there any carryovers that you have from last year that you're still planning on finishing? And I have two. The first one is the latest book in the A Court of Thorns and Roses series, A Court of Silver Flames. I started that in December. I got probably like 200 to 300 pages into it. It's a big book. It's like 800 plus pages, and I just haven't been in the mood for it, so I haven't picked it up yet again. I do plan on finishing it eventually. I just really don't know when that's going to be at this point. And then the other book that I started in December that I still plan on finishing is Fae Far Away. I was really excited for this book when it came out, so I really wanted to read it before the end of the year. But when I started it, it just wasn't really capturing my attention. I wasn't in the mood for that. It's like more literary fiction with a little bit of magic sprinkled in, and it's more of an emotional read, and I just haven't really been in the mood for that. I've been reading a ton of horror and thriller books this month, and that has been what I'm primarily in the mood for, so I haven't finished it yet. Don't really know when I'm going to, but I do plan on finishing it eventually at some point in this year. So that is it for the January book tag. Those are all the questions. Thank you so much to Hannah and Gwen for tagging me. At this point, it is almost the end of January, and I feel like all of my friends have been tagged in this already. So if you're watching this and you want to consider yourself tagged, then definitely feel free to consider yourself tagged by me. But I know it's also late in the month, and I would feel bad tagging someone and then they feel like they have to scramble to make the video. So if you're interested and you feel like doing this, maybe even if you're not necessarily a booktuber, but if you have a Bookstagram account and you want to maybe talk about it on your stories, definitely feel free to do so. And if you do decide to do it, make sure you comment and let me know, or tag me on your posts so I can go check them out as well. And make sure to tag Jan because she is the original creator of the video. Like I said, everyone I mentioned, their channels will be linked down below, so you can go check out their channels and show them some love. But that is it for me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye.